Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been getting a lot of questions and comments about what's going on in Mauritius with this waste management situation, specifically with the Mare-Chicose landfill.
hmm
And, it's something that, well, frankly, is something we all really need to be paying attention to right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious situation
Yeah.
and definitely not just another news cycle. This has been building up for quite some time now. And this recent fire at Mare-Chicose on November 6th, I think just threw a giant spotlight on just how critical this has become.
Absolutely. So let's rewind a bit for anyone who's just joining us.
Hmm.
Can you give us the breakdown of what exactly is happening at Mare-Chicose and, why should we care about it?
Okay, so imagine this every single day. Mauritius generates about 1,488 tons of waste. That's like the weight of about 15 blue whales.
Whoa.
And all of it ends up at Mare-Chicose, the island's only landfill. The problem is it's overflowing. It's like we're trying to squeeze an elephant into a Mini Cooper, you know? It's just not sustainable.
And I imagine the cost of all this is astronomical.
You're absolutely right. The government's spending roughly Rs 1.5 billion annually just to manage the waste. Local authorities add another Rs 990 million on top of that. And this is all before we even factor in the cost of this current fire. Think about it for a second. All that money could be used for so many other things, vital projects that Mauritius needs.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that, poor waste management isn't just an environmental issue, it's an economic one, too.
Absolutely.
It impacts everyone.
And speaking of the environment, can you explain what actually happens when a landfill like Mare-Chicose gets overloaded?
Well, first off, you have the immediate danger, as we are seeing now, fires breaking out because of the methane buildup from all the decomposing waste.
Yeah.
Remember that massive fire at the Gazipur landfill in Delhi back in April? Yeah, that's a serious wake-up call for what can happen if we don't get a handle on this.
Right.
Then you have the longer-term risk of leachate. That toxic liquid that forms as the waste breaks down. It can seep into the soil, the groundwater, contaminates our water supply, poses a serious threat to public health. So it's like a ticking time bomb, both in the short term with these fires and in the long term with the contamination.
Precisely. And on top of all that, you have the greenhouse gas emissions, particularly methane, which is a far more potent heat-trapping gas than even carbon dioxide. Landfills are a major source of methane, directly contribute to climate change, which, as an island nation, we are especially vulnerable to.
It really paints a picture of how interconnected all this is. The environment, the economy, public health, it all comes back to how we manage our waste.
It really does.
So knowing just how dire the situation at Mare-Chicose is, what's being done to combat this fire right now?
Well, the firefighters have been working tirelessly. They've divided the area into sectors. They're using heavy machinery to expose the burning waste so they can try to smother it with earth, constantly spraying water to try and cool it down and prevent it from spreading. But it's dangerous work. It's intense heat. They're surrounded by smoke and fumes. It's a testament to their dedication and bravery that they were doing everything they can to get it under control.
It's amazing what they're doing. But what about the air quality? With all that smoke, are there concerns about, toxic fumes from this fire affecting residents nearby?
Well, the Ministry of Environment's monitoring the situation very closely. They're doing daily air quality tests. And so far, fortunately, they haven't detected any toxic gas emissions. But it's something that they're keeping a close eye on,
Yeah.
especially considering the health risks of, long-term exposure to this smoke.
So it's good to know that they're on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the problem at length, but I think our listeners are eager to hear about some potential solutions. What can be done to actually address this waste management crisis in Mauritius, both in the short term and in the long term?
Well, tackling a problem this big, it requires a multi-pronged approach. In the short term, we need to extinguish this fire completely, prevent it from reigniting. But long term, we have to rethink our whole relationship with waste in Mauritius. It's not enough to just put out fires. We need to stop them from starting in the first place.
That makes sense. So where do we even begin with a task this monumental? Where do we even start?
Well, we can draw inspiration from other countries who've faced similar challenges and found some innovative solutions. Let's look at Singapore, for example.
Okay.
They're a densely populated island nation, much like Mauritius, and yet they've managed to create an incredibly efficient waste management system.
So what's their secret sauce? What are they doing?
Their success lies in a combination of high recycling rates, around 55%, and a robust waste-to-energy program, which diverts about 42% of their waste from landfills. This leaves only a tiny fraction, a mere 3% actually going to landfill.
Wow, only 3%. That's incredible. I'm guessing that didn't happen overnight. What were some of the key steps that they took to get there?
It was a multi-decade effort. That involves significant investment in infrastructure, public education campaigns to promote recycling and reduce waste, and strong government policies that incentivize these sustainable practices. They also implemented a system of waste sorting and collection that makes it easy for residents to participate.
So it's not just about technology, it's about creating a culture of responsibility and making it easy for people to do the right thing.
Absolutely, and that brings us back to Mauritius. We need a similar paradigm shift in our thinking about waste. We can't keep treating it as something to be simply thrown away and forgotten about.
Right.
We need to see it as a resource, something that can be reused, recycled, or transformed into energy.
So that sounds like a big cultural change, but could you give us like a concrete example of what that might actually look like in practice?
Sure, imagine a scenario where every household in Mauritius has separate bins for different types of waste: organic waste for composting, recyclables like paper, plastic, glass, and then a bin for non-recyclable waste. This simple step would already significantly reduce the amount of waste going to landfills.
Right. But what about the waste that can't be recycled or composted? Is there a way to deal with that sustainably?
That's where waste-to-energy technology comes in. Remember how Singapore incinerates a large portion of their waste? They've invested in these modern incinerators that capture the heat generated from burning the waste and use it to produce electricity.
So instead of just burning it and releasing harmful pollutants into the atmosphere, they're harnessing that energy and turning it into something useful.
Exactly. It's about closing the loop, creating a more circular economy. And this isn't just theoretical. The Apex landfill in Las Vegas is a great example. They're actually generating enough electricity from their waste-to-energy plant to power a small city.
That's incredible. We could be doing the same thing in Mauritius.
Right.
But what about the cost of setting up such advanced infrastructure?
It's definitely an investment, but one that will pay off in the long run, both environmentally and economically. Remember those billions the government's already spending on waste management? Redirect some of that towards building sustainable infrastructure.
So it's about shifting priorities and investing in long-term solutions rather than just reacting to crises when they happen. But let's be realistic. Building these large-scale waste energy plants takes time, and we need solutions that can have an impact right now.
You're right. That's why it's crucial to have this multi-pronged approach. While we're working on these long-term infrastructure projects, we can implement smaller-scale initiatives that can make a big difference in the short term.
Okay, like what kind of initiatives are we talking about?
Think about composting. It's a simple yet highly effective way to manage organic waste, which makes up a significant portion of our waste stream. We could encourage households to compost their food scraps, yard waste, either individually or through community composting programs.
That's a great idea, and it's something that could be implemented relatively quickly and cheaply. Did you know that Mysuru in India has successfully implemented a decentralized composting system? They compost about half of their waste.
Yes, Mysuru is a fantastic example of how a city can dramatically reduce the amount of waste going to landfills by embracing composting. They've seen significant environmental benefits like improved soil health and reduced greenhouse gas emissions. It's a model that Mauritius could definitely learn from.
So we're talking about a combination of individual responsibility, community initiatives, and government policies all working together to create a more sustainable waste management system.
That's the key. It's not about pointing fingers or waiting for someone else to fix the problem. It's about each of us taking ownership and contributing to the solution.
It's about changing our mindset and recognizing that waste isn't just a problem to be dealt with, it's a resource to be managed responsibly.
Exactly. It's about creating a circular economy where waste is seen as a valuable input rather than just a burden. It's about shifting from a throwaway society to a make the most of it society.
I love the make the most of it society. And I think that spirit of innovation or resourcefulness is something that resonates deeply with the people of Mauritius. You know, it's been a fascinating journey so far, exploring all these complexities. We've seen the urgency of the situation at Mare-Chicose, the potential solutions out there, and how crucial it is for everyone to be involved in shaping the sustainable future.
It really emphasizes that this isn't just a government issue or a problem for waste management companies to solve. It's about individuals, communities, businesses, everyone working together.
Absolutely. What stands out to you most from our conversation today? Was it the sheer scale of what's happening at Mare-Chicose, the innovative solutions that we're seeing being used elsewhere, or maybe something else entirely?
For me, it's the potential for Mauritius to flip this challenge into a real opportunity. We have the chance not just to solve our own waste problem, but to become a leader in sustainable waste management for the region and even globally.
I love that optimistic outlook. And it's
Yeah.
not just about the environment, is it? There's a significant economic aspect to all of this as well.
Absolutely. Investing in sustainable waste management doesn't just solve a problem. It creates new industries, green jobs,
Mm.
and it could even attract foreign investment. It's about building a circular economy where waste is a resource, not a liability.
It's about moving away from that throwaway mentality and embracing this make the most of it approach, which, as we've seen, has incredible potential.
Precisely. And that shift starts with each of us making conscious decisions in our daily lives.
So for our listeners out there who are feeling inspired, what are some tangible steps they can take right now to be a part of this solution?
We'll start by simply being more mindful of what you consume. Do you really need that new gadget, that extra pair of shoes, or that single-use plastic bottle? Every little choice we make has an impact.
It's about recognizing that our individual actions collectively can have a huge ripple effect.
Exactly. And when you do generate waste, separate it correctly. Compost what you can. And make sure those recyclables actually end up in the recycling bin, not the landfill.
It's about making those everyday actions count, holding ourselves accountable, but also holding businesses and policymakers accountable for implementing the solutions that we've talked about.
Couldn't agree more. We need to demand transparency, responsible practices,
Hmm.
and a genuine commitment to a cleaner, greener future for Mauritius.
You know, this deep dive has really opened our eyes to the complexities of waste management in Mauritius. We've seen the challenges of potential solutions and the crucial role we all play in creating a sustainable future.
And as we wrap up, it all comes down to this. What role will you choose to play in transforming Mauritius's waste management system?
We encourage you to share your thoughts, your ideas, your commitments on social media using the hashtag Mauritius Waste Challenge. Let's spark a conversation, inspire action, and together build a more sustainable future for our island nation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's left you feeling informed, engaged, and ready to make a difference.
We have created